Hey everybody, Jamin here from Game Show. So this week I got a good question from some of y'all on Twitter. They wanted to know who would make Metal Gear Solid if not for Hideo Kojima. So this week The New Yorker reported that Hideo Kojima had exited Konami as of October 9th. This is after many months of rumors about hearing him leaving. Kojima, of course, is the famous creator and director of the mega popular Metal Gear franchise, most recently Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and Konami is a longtime publisher of the series. There was some question as to the authenticity of, Simon Parkin's claim, as the source cited in the article was anonymous, which, obviously makes people raise their eyebrows. But Konami issued a statement saying that it wasn't true that Kojima was still an employee and has merely gone on vacation. And then Simon Parkin, the author of the piece, replied in kind with an actual photo of Hideo Kojima's farewell party, which kind of, essentially put a pin in that rumor. But regardless of whether or not it's true or not, I'm not going to speculate on that. It does bring up a worrying question that has been on the mind of many people. Who would make Metal Gear if not for Hideo Kojima? Well, Metal Gear's fate is completely in the hands of Konami, as they are the copyright holders after all, even though Metal Gear is Kojima's baby. He directed and designed the original game for the MSX2 way back in 1987, and for 28 years he's designed, written, and produced the major games in the series, while overseeing a lot of the minor ones like the PSP spin-offs. The thought of Metal Gear Solid in the hands of another creator seems like a strange injustice, but it's often the case in games, unfortunately, that game creators are estranged from their creation. So there are a couple possibilities. One is maybe no one will make it. It could be that the series fades away and then there would be no more Metal Gear games in the same way that happened with Mega Man after Keiji Inafune left Capcom. Or perhaps Konami could dissolve Kojima Productions, as it's already believed to have been done, and start a new internal studio to carry on Kojima's torch, as Microsoft did for Halo with 343 Industries when Bungie left with it. Although that's probably, ostensibly the least probable. Or they could, contract the game out to outside development, as we've seen with Silent Hill's recent entries, or that's what happened with Call of Duty. The same things happen. Activision has done this before with recent entries like King's Quest and Geometry Wars. None of these probably sit well with Metal Gear fans, but because the publisher owns the property, we're pretty much out of luck. Outside of games, the issue of artists retaining the rights to their creations is still a really big issue. So, for instance, George Lucas was obsessed with holding on to creative control of Star Wars. After A New Hope was a huge success, he bought back the rights to the film from 20th Century Fox, a very shrewd move. That meant that the characters in the universe were his without interference from publishers and financiers. While Kojima Productions was owned entirely by Konami, Lucasfilm was owned by George Lucas, at least until he sold it for $4 billion to Disney, who's releasing The Force Awakens. Fox merely served as a distributor while Lucas remained an independent contractor. Of course, this is, in some ways a dream scenario for a creator, but generally speaking, other creators outside of games have, a lot more leverage than people inside of games. In a lot of ways, game creators are dealing with a very similar system that Hollywood used to exist in before the Paramount Supreme Court case, which decentralized a lot of the power in the Hollywood system. But hopefully, something good will come out of Kojima's exodus from Konami, if he is really leaving, of course, and hopefully he'll manage to retain some creative control over his next project. That way he can decide, to do whatever he wants with the story and take whatever direction his little heart desires. So, and fingers crossed that it doesn't turn out just like what happened with the first 3 Star Wars movies when George Lucas was back in the driver's seat. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think, what you think will happen to the Metal Gear franchise now that Kojima may or may not have passed on. Hash it out in the comments, and if you like what you saw, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.